Okay, let's move on. So, you want sample ke? Camera already? Ready? Make sure you have the right focus. I will show you the screen after this. Ready, camera? Okay. See? I always get this in all my workshops. I'm not in the way, yeah? Okay, let's look at the sample one of the examples, okay? Each of those responds to each of the questions given. Okay, so the first one, structure okay? Structure okay? Of course lah kena okay kan? Alright, any difficult words? Instill. Oh, instill? Oh, instill, so okay. Instill. Gratification. The rest are simple words, right? On how to approach part 2. Okay? All right. So, clear, structured, flowing speech. Moving. Okay, this is how it looks like. It's not moving. Okay. It's not that big. All right, because it's so big. Okay, let me read to you what you need to achieve to be a C1. Okay? If you look at use of range or complex grammar construction, some minor errors occur but does not impede understanding. That means if you have errors, the error must not distort meaning. The moment the error you make in your speech distorts meaning or impedes understanding, you go down to B. But if the error you make does not do that, you can still stay at C. So are we looking at perfect speech? So they do tolerate, all right? They do tolerate errors, but to a certain extent. Not major errors, minor errors. What does minor errors mean? Normally there are slips, and normally these errors only happens once. It's not repeated. When the same error is repeatedly produced or made, it becomes a major error because it reflects that you do not know the structure. You're not aware of the structure. A minor one is when you make it once and it doesn't recur. It doesn't occur again. It's just that instance you happen to make the error, but however, it does not impede understanding. Okay? Second, uses a range of vocabulary to discuss the topic, some awkward use or slightly inappropriate lexical choice. So does it mean that they do tolerate some awkward use? That means you think that the word is C word, but it doesn't fit into context. All right? They do allow that still, but don't have too many. That means you do not know the usage of the word. All right. But if you have like one in each of your response, then that's fine. Okay. But don't have it too often. Okay. Next, pronunciation is clearly intelligible. That means your pronunciation has to be clear. Now, some of us might be very concerned about your dialect, right? Okay, some of us we have northern dialect. Do you have southern dialect? No, right. Okay, normally is the northern one or the east coast or even from our Borneo counterparts. Yeah. So the dialect may not be, how can I say this? Yeah, it's not so much of dialect impeding the pronunciation, but as long as you made it clear. For example, the Scottish has this ability, I would say disability, of pronouncing extreme R. You know, the R is very R kind of things. So it's not because they do not know how to pronounce it, but because of the dialect. But that is still acceptable as long as you pronounce it consistently. Okay, and that is the part that makes your language that need to be tolerated at that point of time. Okay, and then a range of cohesive devices used to clearly indicate links between ideas. So again, remember I mentioned the varied devices. So if you use therefore already, don't use therefore in the same response. That doesn't mean that you use in part one, you cannot use in part two. No, you can still use in part two, but don't use therefore more than once. Don't use moreover more than once. For each of the cohesive devices that you have in your vocabulary, don't use more than once within the same response. Try to use other. We have a lot to choose from, isn't it? So pick one from each of that variety. Yeah. So looking at this marking scale, is it doable? Can you get C1 for this part? Can you get C1 for that part? See, no, it's not like you have to be perfect user of the language. It's not that they don't tolerate errors. They do tolerate errors, but then minor ones, not glaring ones. Okay? All right. Any questions, part two? Am I losing you already? Are you here still? You're still here, yeah? Okay. Can we move to the next one? Part 3 and 4. Now, for part 3 and 4, I do not want to separate them. But in the component is seen as one. All right? Because part 4 is the continuation of part 3. It's a follow-up of part 3. So in a way, part 3, points in part 3 can be recycled. Not all lah. You have to be very selective. Okay, make sure they are relevant to be recycled. Don't simply recycle everything. Okay, so look at what you have in part 3 that you can use to help you address part 4, because you have to bear in mind part 4 has no preparation time. Correct? Part 3 has preparation time. How long? Only 1 minute. the same part 2. So part 3, you also have 1 minute to prepare and you have 1.5 minutes to present your points. Okay. So in part 3 is where you will use a lot of cohesive devices because it is I wouldn't say argumentative, but it's more of highlighting the pros and cons. So when you're highlighting pros and cons or advantages and disadvantages, you use a lot of cohesive devices. Okay, so this is where you need to be careful that you try not to. I cannot say you don't use at all, but in some instances when you are sitting for a test, you tend to use the same one. But in your conscious mind, you try not to use the same one. Okay? That's as much that we can advise. But you will be the one to decide the moment you are sitting for the test. Because you are the only one who knows what is playing in your mind within your capacity. But if you regularly, consistently use this variety in your everyday use, it will come naturally during the tests. That's what we always advise our candidates. Do it as part of your normal daily routine. And when you sit for the test, it's just like your everyday routine in using the language. Okay? All right. I've given some examples here. We have firstly, secondly, this is for connectors, how you can actually express your points. Not always I believe, I think, I believe, I think, I believe, I think. All right? Right. I believe, I think, I believe, I think. There are many other ways of expressing it, right? So use that variety. No? In a different point of view, I would say, okay, use different ones, not the same one over and again. Okay. All right. Okay, this is how it will look like in terms of the interface for the question. It will appear in one page. Now, some candidates have asked me, will there be one set of points on one screen, on the other next screen? No, everything will appear in one screen. So you don't have to scroll up and down for the points. Everything is in front of the screen. You just look at the screen and start your mental processing of the points. Okay? And the timer is here. The recording is always on this side. Okay? You have the finish button here. Remember the tips in the video? Use all the time given. If, let's say, you finish earlier, they give you 1.5 minutes, you finish in 1 minute. Try not to try not to click the finish button. All right? Continue utilizing that time given to you, because 1.5 minutes means they wanted enough sample to see how you use the language against this task. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it looks like, and this will be part 4, in which they will give you the additional question within 45 seconds as well. Okay. So for this question, the highest level is C2. Okay, let's look at the marking scale for C2. Yeah. Presentation is convincingly presented and well structured. You got preparation time, right? So it should be well structured. It should be organized. This is C2. Can be a target, yeah? Okay. The follow-up question response is well structured, clear, and coherent. I mean, there is a flow. Coherent means there is a flow. Uses a range of complex grammar structures, some very minor errors, but does not impede understanding. This is C2, yeah? So at C2, do they still tolerate errors? Yeah, but very minor errors. That is why, even for speaking, you can score 50 over 50. So is it doable? It's doable. It's not impossible. 49, very possible. 50, also possible. Yeah. Okay, let's look at vocabulary. Okay, for C2, you don't have any inappropriate lexical choice. That's for C2. But C1, minor ones. Okay, pronunciation, intelligible. Range of cohesive devices are clearly indicating the links, the same as C1. So if you look at the marking scale, anywhere here says that you have to sound like a native speaker, you must have the British accent. No. As long as you fulfill the descriptors, the construct, you're good to go. Okay? All right, let's look at the first one. I will put the 1 minute preparation time. Can you work on that? This is the question. Very close to your heart. Okay, 1 minute, yeah? The sound has been reduced. Prepare your answers. Okay. Prepare your answers first. Prepare your answers first. Then I'll tell you what you need to do. Yeah? The question is you need to choose two from each side. Yeah? Two from each side. Two from pro and two from cons. Or two for against and two for for. Any two. Oh, it's a softer one. I've reduced the sound. I'm irritating already. Okay, so in your 1.5 minute presentation, you need to show or you need to present 2 points from for, 2 points for against. Okay, you need to cover all that. Not all 6, yeah? Only 4. 2 from for, 2 from against. Okay, are you ready for the tryout? For 1.5 minutes. Yeah? Okay, you have your phones ready? Okay, your 1.5 minutes starts now. Okay. Enough, enough, enough. In the real test, it doesn't wait for you to stop. The recording will stop on its own. Okay? So if you don't stop before time, your sentence may be halfway. All right? So please be alert with the time. So if the moment it stops at 0, it will submit your audio. It doesn't wait for you to finish your sentence, yeah? So you must finish before the time is up. Okay? The best is 1 second before, if you can time yourself well. Okay. Would you like to listen to yourself and see whether you have addressed 4 points? Okay. Okay, what have you gathered from your response? What important information or tips that you have gathered from your own response? Is it more organized? Is it organized? No? How is it not organized? In what way? Okay. All right. You ended up having hanging sentences, all right? Because you're trying very hard to address everything in one. Okay. How did you approach your response? Do you talk about each point individually? For example, student gives response and you elaborate, and then you move to the second one, save time, you elaborate, and then you go to the against. Okay, all right. So you approach it that way. Others, how do you approach this question? How did you approach it? Do you go one by one, one elaborate, one elaborate, one elaborate, one elaborate? Yes, okay. Did you find you have enough time? No. Did you finish until the fourth point? Okay. You only finish until third point. Okay. Who finished until all four with enough elaboration? No. Okay. One strategy. You counter approach. You know counter? Okay. How do you counter? You take one from four, counter with one from against. Take the nearest one to counter. You understand what I mean? Okay, let's take an example. Give students a sense of belonging. Can counter with which one? Okay, no individualism, lack of self-expression. Can that counter? When you counter, you have addressed 2 points with elaboration. Okay. The next one you want to counter. Which one? Student dress the same, right? irrespective of their economic background. Which one can you counter? Can be expensive for parents. Can you counter that? Yes. So when you counter the points, you have more time to elaborate on those points. And you can even give a conclusion to it. How long should a conclusion be? A one-liner. You know one-liner? One line. Those are the pros and cons of children wearing uniform to school. That's it. It's a complete response already. How do you start? How can you start? There are many pros and cons in having students to wear uniform to schools. Okay? One of it, right. However, furthermore, in contrast to that, can you see how you can structure it? And you will fulfill your 4 points within 1.5 minutes. Correct? When you tackle the points individually, you will spend more time focusing only on that point. And therefore, you will then require more for the others as well. When you counter, it is enough to connect it with the negative. And you get to tackle both in that same time. Okay? Yes. Earlier you noticed that, but you didn't use that. uh, the examiners, yes, they will. Yes, they will. Now, does the question say that you have to address it individually? So it's your creativity. As long as you fulfill 2 from 4, 2 for against. The question doesn't say you have to talk about it each in isolation. It's how you approach it. As long as you fulfill the 4 required points. That's it. I think the questions are very straightforward, isn't it? The requirement is very straightforward. Don't overthink. All right? Look at the question, approach it to maximize time. Your challenge is time. You only have 1.5 minutes. So how much can you cover in 1.5 minutes? So if you look at the distribution, can you have 45 seconds for each point? You cannot. Like how you had in part 1 and part 2. You have 45 seconds, right, for each point? But in part 3, you cannot afford to have 45 seconds because you have 4 points to talk about. So now you have to make use of that 45 seconds or half a second to at least address 2 points. So how do you maximize that? That is why we advise you to use the counter approach. That's how you maximize it. Okay? All right. Okay, let's look at the last one. Record yourself as well. How we dress nowadays is more important now than 50 years ago. What is your response? Is it related to school uniform still? Yes, but in a different context, right? Okay, what is your response to this statement? You have 45 seconds to. Are you ready? Record yourself. 45 seconds starts now. It doesn't click. Okay. Okay. Dia dah awal dia dah. Volume tu. Okay, time's up. How did you do? Listen to yourself. Hmm? Yeah, can you? Just in case. Ada full. Bukan sempat nak tengok. Jalan, jalan. Hmm. How do you sound? I wasn't expecting that one. How do you sound? Hopeless. Hopeless. Don't lah. Hopeless. Make these 2 hours, 3 hours a worthwhile one. Okay. What can you, how can you reflect on your last response? What can you say about the way you express yourself in your last response? Is there structure? Not really. Okay. Did you answer the question? Okay, you answered the question, but not sure whether what you're saying is right or wrong. Okay, all right, that's normal. Do you have structure? Do you have the grammatical structure? You think so? Okay, I like that confidence. Do you think you have used enough grammar? Any enough vocabulary to tell the examiner I'm a C1, you know? No response. You were focusing on time or you were focusing on your response? You need to do both. Glance on the timer, but don't focus on the timer. Focus on your response. Okay? So, how do you respond to this one? What would you say? Which points can you use from part 3? Any idea? Again? Self expression, yeah? Okay? People nowadays, the way people dress nowadays expresses their self expression, for example. Okay? They show, they display their self expression through the way they dress. That's why it's more important. So you're saying it's more important now than 50 years ago, right? Okay, all right. What else? What then? In what way? It's more individualized in the way you dress nowadays as compared as those time. So mean in the past, if you're a boy, it has to be blue. If you're a girl, it has to be pink. Nowadays, boy, girl, in between, any color also can. Right. Okay. What else? What other points can you take from part 3? Again? Look presentable. Okay. Now it's important to look presentable. You mean in the past, 50 years ago, you don't need to look presentable? 50 years ago, that will be in 19, now 24, 19, what? 80, 70s? 1970s? I think those time they are more fashionable with the bell bottoms, the big belt. I used to have that one. All right, with the boot jeans. Yes, it's making a comeback now, right? Okay, so these are the things. Can you relate to your current situation, current context? How people nowadays follow the trend, right? Isn't that something that's something people talk about nowadays? And look at the way this was Or the scarf, the way you style your scarf. Hanging here, hanging there. I can never get it right. Despite the tutorials that we have. Nowadays, we even have tutorials on how to wear your hijab, right? Those days, because we don't have, we have, yeah, this tudung lah. Tudung bawal only. We don't even have shawl days, right? Maybe shawl was still new. Right? So these are the things that you can relate to your response. But that one will only come after the 45-second ends. Right or not? Yeah. After it ends, yeah, lah, I can say that. I should have said this one, lah. And you have to receipt. Okay. All right. So for the part 4, you can actually use some of the points in part 3. Should you need them? I'm not saying that you must. Should you need them? That means sometimes when at the spur of that moment, when you see the question, everything goes blank, right? But you have points on your paper, isn't it? You have, remember the preparation time just now? You have points on your paper. Grab any ones that's relevant to be used, as long as it connects to the topic. That's how you have to save yourself. Survival kit. All right? Okay. You want to see some samples? Of course lah. Camera ready? Camera ready? Camera up. Okay. This could be one. Simple je. Siapa kata susah-susah? So you can use counter, you can use a mixture of counter or addressing individually. It's up to you. Whichever that you feel comfortable with. Okay? Looking at the topic. Sometimes looking at the topic, you would know what would be the best approach to use. Not all the time you feel that counter is the best. You look at the context, look at the question. If you feel that you can do counter, do counter. If you feel that addressing one by one can be more effective, do so. Okay? These are the options available for you to choose from. Okay. Look at the, remember the feelers this morning? All right. Oh, that's an interesting topic. Okay. Whether or not students should wear uniforms. I feel it depends on a number of factors. So I'll briefly outline. That's the main idea, isn't it? Topic sentence, right? Then you move on. Look at the cohesive devices, the linking words. All right? It could be argued. That is to show contrast, to already highlight the negative points. Okay? And look at the summing up. To sum up, there are pros and cons on both sides. Do you need very complicated structure? No need. This is a productive skill. All right? Okay. How we dress. So how I do believe how we dress nowadays holds more importance than it did 50 years ago. Primarily because society has become image conscious. Betul tak? Yes. The society now has become so conscious of how people should appear, how people should look like. All right. And therefore, how you dress nowadays are more important as compared to those days. And it's very much influenced by the global trends. What's the trend now? Oh, everybody is wearing trousers. So everybody start wearing trousers. It becomes a hit in the market. Then it comes to a period of time when everybody wears skirts. Then you only find skirts in the supermarket or in the shopping centers. All right. Then you make For conclusion, well, dressing is more visible and influential today as it has always carried significance. A sample. If you can highlight a few of that, that's good enough. Okay? All right? Okay. I have one speaking test for you. You want to do this now or 5 minutes break first? 5 minutes break, go round, come back. You can start at your own pace. Okay? You have to start by 12. Okay. Now, how do you respond? Record yourself. Okay? Record yourself and then listen to yourself at the end of the test, not during the test. Record, record, record. When you finish, then only you listen to yourself. Okay? Right. This is a sample of the whole thing. Part 1 right up to part 4. Okay? When you are ready, you may start. Boleh tak? Tak boleh. Okay. Speaking practice 1. Just bring around. Speaking practice 1, yeah? This one, the top one. Okay? The number 1. Okay? Anybody has issues? The first one. Okay? Anybody needs? Practice 1, yeah? Practice 1. Okay? Okay, who first? Okay. 1. Can. Okay. Okay. Anybody needs some more? Jadi kena buat katalog kan? Practice 1. It's easier, right? Okay. Practice 1. Okay? All right. Just move around. Practice 1, yeah? Okay, you may start. Yes. Oh, you want it? It's at the back. Just hold on. Boleh dapat tak? You get it? Practice 1. I jadikan dia katalog terus. Boleh. Who needs it just now? You need it, right? Practice 1, yeah? Practice 1. Okay? Anybody needs help? Practice 1. Okay? Any more? Who needs access? Oh, booby trap. Ching, ching. Practice 1. Yes. Okay? Easier? Okay. All got it? All right. Okay, you may start. Bismillah.
See them behind this, like this.
Yeah, but basically you can see. If you have a laptop, it will be easier. Aku nak tunjuk dia orang. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want a better access to this material, can you go, if you're on a laptop, you can go to Aptis Web. Okay? You Google Aptis Web, then you pick exam library Aptis Advanced. The practice you are currently doing is speaking practice test 3. So if you want a better view of the screen, do it on a laptop. Okay, then you have a full access to the screen rather than the phone. The phone, it has a very limited access to it. So I would highly advise you switch on your laptop, go to Aptis Web. Just Google Aptis Web. It will bring you to that web page. Then you go to Aptis Advanced Library, picked Aptis Advanced. So select practice 3 for speaking. That's the test that we're doing now. practice 3? Yes? Okay, if you finish practice 3, can you please try one more? Practice 2 in the Aptis web. You have done practice 3, speaking. Try practice 2. I want you to be able to be, I want you to be exposed to the different types of photos, pictures, and also question types that they use in Aptis. Yeah? Go to practice 2. If you have done practice 3, try out practice 2. Okay, are you done? You managed to finish both? What do you think of the stimulus, the pictures? What do you think about the pictures? What were the pictures in practice 3? Packing, right? There are two types of packing, right? Uh, but then again, no, there's no results. That's why you have to, what do you call that? Record yourself. For speaking and writing, they don't have result. You have to go against peer assessment. They provide the marking skill for that. Okay, for the pictures used in practice 3 is about packing, right? What kind of packing? One is packing for traveling. The other one is packing for moving places or moving houses. All right. Two types of packing. How about the second one? What was the photo about the second practice? Practice 2. Traveling to cities and the okay. All right. Two different destination. All right. Traveling destination, holiday destination, or city and the outskirts. Okay, so those are the kind of pictures that you might come across in the aptis test. Okay, on the test day. Okay, on the test day, when you are doing your speaking, please do not click the arrow back. Okay, do not click the arrow back because once recording has taken place, you cannot go back on. You cannot re-record. All right. So just move forward. The two components that you need to be very careful in the icons that you click are speaking and listening. Okay. For speaking, only move next. All right. Don't move backwards. And should you encounter any glitches, for example, when they are transitioning from one page to the other, they will have this book icon on the screen. And the book pages will keep flipping until they go to the next page. If it takes too long, all right, too long, and you find that it's hanging, refresh. It will come back to the point where you stop, the last page that you stop. Okay. Should you encounter glitches, raise your hand because there will be the technical team available at your test centers. Okay, technical and also your invigilators available. Don't panic. Just be calm. All right. Panic won't solve problems. Just be calm. Ask for help should you need, and do not take intervals after speaking tests. After you complete your speaking component, before you move to the listening component, there will be a dialog box appearing on the screen asking if you would like to take an interval. Say no. Continue. All right. Don't take the interval. You only take your interval after grammar. Okay. After grammar and vocabulary. Because if you take your interval at that point of time, our concern is when you start speaking, it will be lagging. Continue, finish until grammar. Then you take an interval. You need to go to the ladies, to the gents, take a walk. Take it at that time before you proceed to reading and writing, because reading is 1 hour, writing is 45 minutes. So take interval before that heavy components. But for speaking is 10 minutes, listening is half an hour, and grammar vocabulary is 25 minutes. So it's about an hour there. So the first hour, finish off the 3 components, then only you take an interval. Every time you move to the next component, that same dialog box will appear. Would you like to take an interval? Say no, proceed. Only until after grammar, you can take your interval. Okay? That is our advice to the candidates so that we don't have any glitches for especially the speaking and the listening component. Once you're already in your writing, your grammar and your writing is already smooth sailing. Okay. The reason why we are worried of speaking and listening merely because these are the two components that involve uploading and downloading. One is uploading your audio and also the photos, images. The other one listening is to download audio for listening. So these are critical components that we try not to have any disruption in its progress, okay, in its flow. Okay, so how do you find the two practice? The whole 10 minutes, okay? Can you survive that 10 minutes? You see, the word is survive, you know. Can you survive that 10 minutes? That's only like 10% of the whole portion, you know. Okay, 10 minutes. All right. So, would you agree with this? You'll get the hang of it once you keep doing practice. I've shared with you that Aptis web. If you see, there's all the components there. All right. The practice that we do is extracted from this particular platform. All right. So now we are doing speaking. Later in the afternoon after lunch, we'll be doing listening. All right. Now for listening, can you try your level best to get hold of a earphone? Okay, whether the plug-in earphone or Bluetooth wireless earphone, anything, so that you don't have to open your audio outlet for everybody to listen to. Okay, as much as possible, it's best that you have on your own. All right. Okay. Okay. So what else? Important tips. Time record review. Okay, like what you have done today. Continue doing that so that you can listen to yourself. You know what you need to avoid, what you need to enhance. Okay, improve on. I cannot tell you you're weak at this. You would know yourself what you need to improve on. And everybody progress at different pace. Yeah, we are all adults. We don't progress the same as others. Okay, so how you progress may not be the same as how your colleagues progress, but you need to keep on improving that area of concern. Okay. All right. What else did I miss? All right. So do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yes. When will the test be? Okay. I do not really have the exact dates just yet, but I can only anticipate somewhere in November. All right. Uh, yes, after Deepavali. Definitely after Deepavali. We're not doing the test during Deepavali. Don't worry. Okay, we will only be able to. I'm forecasting, anticipating November for now, but it's still tentative to changes. All right, because I don't have the final say to the dates just yet. All right, there's still a lot of things that's still uncertain at the moment. But what is certain is there will be a test. When exactly, I'll inform your GPN to inform you. Okay, but in the meantime, continue practicing. All right. I would look it as a way of having more time for you to focus on improving yourself. When the time comes for you to sit for the test, hopefully by then you are more ready than you are now. Okay. It will not be good to either go through this workshop tomorrow for the test. It's even worse, isn't it? You wouldn't have enough time for you to work on areas that you find concerning. But at this point, it's best that now that you know, you work on it. All right. If you feel that you need friends to work with it, go ahead. Network. You don't need to focus only on people who are close to you. If you have friends from other schools, come do it together. I see very positive feedback in the Telegram when people are supporting each other in terms of emotional, physical, mental support, which is very good. I see that as good progress because sometimes you often feel that you are alone in this, but you're not alone. It's a journey made by many people, and many people have actually crossed that border. Many people have progressed from B2 to C1. So you're among those who will be progressing that same way as well. All right. So let's be more hopeful. Let's hope, pray for the best that everything will sit smooth and you will be able to achieve your target level uh, this time around. Okay. And you're more ready for it. Okay, so for this afternoon, I will have listening, which will be handled by Dr. Mimi. Please, if you can, get hold of a headset or a headphone. Doesn't need to be that big headset, but just an earphone so that you can individually listen to the audio yourself, right? Rather than broadcasting it to the whole group. Okay, with that, I think we shall break for lunch and we come back at 2. Is that fine? Or you want to come back at 1:15? Okay, we'll come back at 2. Is that okay? Food is prepared. I'll pass this back to Fatin to proceed with the housekeeping. Thank you. I'll see you in other sessions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Azlina. So we are going to have our, I suppose, early break for lunch. We are supposed to stop at 1, but now we have, because you are being very good. So 12:30. For those Muslim, cikgu yang nak sembahyang solat nanti, the school are going to have their amali solat at 1:20 until 2. So perhaps you can solat dulu sebelum students use the surau. Okay, untuk guru perempuan, surau akan jadi dekat bilik pengawas. Bilik pengawas is going to be in that building, ground floor. It is in front of toilet guru perempuan, just like next. And those yang nak top up air, we have 2 water cooler. In dekat pathway tu ada 2, you can top up your water there. And then for guru lelaki, there's going to be a problem because there is one surau for guru lelaki, but then it is quite small. So if you want to have your Zoho outside, you can do so. But but please come back here before 2 lah. And lunch is provided at 1. Okay, you can have your lunch at the back later. It is in packing, but it will be here at 1. What else? Do you have any questions? No questions. Okay. So with that, we are going to have our break for 1.5 hours. So I'll see you back at 2. Okay. Thank you. Those yang tak sign lagi, can I have your attendance here? Okay, I still have you yang tak sign lagi.